Madam.
Yes, ma'am, you are audible.
Yes, madam.
So we will do theories of textual criticism. Now you are learning about various ancient Indian approaches towards research methodology, as you have learned about Nyaya, Mimamsa, Tantra Yukti. You will also be learning about Vyakarana, etymology, poetics, etc. So in the beginning, I will present the broader perspective towards a textual criticism. Okay, what is textual criticism? And whatever we are doing, what methods we are applying, where they can be placed. First, we have to know that. And those theories definitely will be useful for undertaking various kinds of research in the Sanskrit and allied subjects. So, textual criticism, as we are studying text, our main focus is on Sanskrit text. Though we may uncover different areas like yoga, epics, Puranas, politics, but our basis is the Sanskrit text, as we are language students. So we are definitely supposed to know various theories and tools of textual criticism. Okay. So when we talk about textual criticism, the first step is the edition of the text. Now what happens is we already have the printed text with us and we start working on that. But before that, what takes place is the edition of that text, or what we may say is the critical edition of the text. It may be simply the edition of the text, or it may be critical edition of the text. एक आवृत्ती असू शकते किंवा ती चिकित्सित आवृत्ती सुद्धा असू शकते. पण आपल्याला तो ग्रंथ जो आहे त्या ग्रंथाची आवृत्ती उपलब्ध असते आणि त्यावर आपण आपलं संशोधन जे आहे ते सुरू करत असतो. पण त्या अगोदर सुद्धा संशोधनाची एक प्रक्रिया आहे. Before that also there are certain stages of research are there by which that edition is prepared. Now, of course, for the short time, we may not undertake this particular kind of research. But as a language student, we should definitely know about this process, because then we can know the text which we are referring is a what kind of text. आपण जो ग्रंथ, आपल्याला जी ग्रंथाची आवृत्ती उपलब्ध असते, ती आवृत्ती नेमकी कोणत्या प्रकारची आहे हे तरी आपल्याला समजलं पाहिजे. आणि एखाद्या संशोधकाला जर त्या चिकित्सित आवृत्तीचं किंवा आवृत्ती तयार करण्याचं काम करायचं असेल तर त्याची पद्धती साधारणपणे काय असू शकेल याची माहिती असायला हवी. Of course, these topics are very vast, but we will definitely have some glance over these topics because they should not be skipped from our understanding as far as research methodology is concerned. So what is textual criticism? It is a science basically of critically editing the text based on the manuscripts of the text. So before preparation of the critical edition or edition of the text, what we get are the manuscripts. Now we are reading all, the treatises in the printed form. I think someone's mic is on. Please mute yourself. So, based on the manuscripts of the text. Now, for example, we have now the text of Yoga Sutra available, in different kinds of editions published by different people, different scholars. But how was that prepared? Was it originally available in printed form? Definitely not, because we know that our ancient Indian tradition is of oral tradition. मौखिक परंपरा आपल्याकडे असल्याचं आपल्याला दिसून येतं. आणि त्यामुळे हे ग्रंथ जे आहेत त्यांचं सुद्धा जतन जे आहे ते मौखिकी परंपरेमधूनच झालेलं आहे. And later on they were written on the manuscripts, different kind of papers, we can say. Maybe it is a paper, birch bark, different material it can be. So that is deeply studied as a part of manuscriptology. हस्तलिखित शास्त्र म्हणून जो विषय आहे त्यामध्ये या सगळ्या बाबींचा अभ्यास केला जातो की कशा कशावर ही हस्तलिखित लिहिली जात असत. भूर्जपत्र असेल किंवा अजून कोणत्या साधनाचा वापर करून त्याच्यावरती हस्तलिखित लिहिलं जात असेल. वेगवेगळ्या लिप्यांमध्ये ती लिहिली जात असत. डिफरंट स्क्रिप्ट्स वर यूज फॉर रायटिंग दॅट. Those were prominent in that particular region. Different languages were used to write those manuscripts. So when one text is there, they can be available in different kinds of manuscripts in different regions, in different scripts. So while critically editing the text, one has to collect all those manuscripts first of all. It is not that if you get one manuscript and that is sufficient to publish the text. It is not so. You have to collect all the possible manuscripts of that particular text. And by collecting that, we have to go towards the original text or nearer the text. Because while writing those manuscripts, there must have been some changes, errors, amendations, possibly done by the scribe, knowingly or unknowingly. So it is a task of a researcher to go towards the original or the nearer text. May not be original, because it is very difficult to go towards the original text, but at least the nearer text. And this is the aim, to produce a critical edition of a text. Now, as you can see, we don't have critical edition of all the text. Much work is to be done in this particular area. We have a critical edition of Ramayana, critical edition of Mahabharata. They are, the examples of the critical edition. They have set the critical apparatus. ही चिकित्सित आवृत्ती जी आहे ती तयार करायची असेल तर ती कशी केली पाहिजे, त्याची जी एक संसाधनी आहे ती त्यांनी तयार केलेली आहे. बरेच वर्ष हे काम चाललेलं आहे. आपल्याला माहिती आहे महाभारताची जी चिकित्सक आवृत्ती आहे ती भांडारकर ओरिएंटल रिसर्च इन्स्टिट्यूट मध्ये तयार झालेली आहे. आणि रामायणाची जी आवृत्ती आहे ती ओरिएंटल इन्स्टिट्यूट बरोडा इथे तयार झालेली आहे. आणि जर आपण ती चिकित्सक आवृत्ती बघितली तर आपल्या त्याच्या इंट्रोडक्शन मध्ये ती तयार करण्याची पद्धती जी आहे त्याचं सुद्धा विश्लेषण दिसून येतं. आणि नंतरच्या ज्या क्रिटिकल एडिशन्स तयार करण्यात येतात त्याच्यासाठी सुद्धा ते प्रारूप म्हणून ती संसाधनी घेतली जाते. दॅट इज कन्सिडर्ड ॲज अ फ्रेमवर्क ऑर स्ट्रक्चर, अँड दॅट इज दॅट दे आर कन्सिडर्ड ॲज अ गाईडलाईन्स. So we don't have critical editions of all the texts. Basically there are editions, maybe they were based on one or some multiple, but not all the manuscripts. So in order to create the critical edition, one has to search, analyze all available manuscripts of that particular text, because then only it will be possible to go towards the original contents of the text, reconstruct the original contents of the text. So there is some certain methodology for that. And this methodology, we know that these principles of textual criticism were formalized in 19th, 20th century by German scholars. And on the basis of that, those, of course, those principles were developed and revised. Some of them were adopted even for the critical editions of Ramayana or Mahabharata that we can see. So in general, if we see, of course, this is a very detailed process, but in general, if we see, we can see there are stages of textual criticism. The four main stages we can see: heuristics, recension, emendatio, and higher criticism. Now, first three stages, that is heuristics, recension, emendatio, forms a part of lower criticism. Okay, it is called as lower criticism, and that lower criticism aims to critically edit the text or bring out the critical एडिशन ऑफ द टेक्स्ट. लोअर क्रिटिसिझमचं जे एक मुख्य उद्देश आहे असतो, मुख्य ध्येय असतं, ते म्हणजे एखाद्या ग्रंथाची चिकित्सक आवृत्ती तयार करणे. ती तयार झाल्यानंतर किंवा एखादी आवृत्ती तयार झाल्यानंतर पुढचं जे काम असतं ते हायर क्रिटिसिझमचं असतं. And the various approaches, etc., the methodology which we have been learning actually forms the part of higher criticism. Okay. But before that, these are the stages to prepare that particular edition. So heuristics means what? We have to create a genealogy. It is a genealogical tree. Means when you get, suppose 100 manuscripts of suppose Yoga Sutra, then you have to categorize, arrange, group. Okay. First task is, of course, collecting the manuscript of the same text of the Patanjali's Yoga Sutra from all places. They may be in different scripts like Sharada, Nevari, Grantha, Telugu, Malayalam, etc. Then you have to club together and group the manuscripts. Maybe, they can be clubbed according to, first of all, various scripts. Like Sharada manuscripts can be clubbed together. Nevari manuscripts can be clubbed together. Then they also need to be grouped according to regions, various regions, like northern, western, or the southern, like that. Whatever, is availability. Accordingly, they need to be classified. Then one needs to decide which manuscripts are to be considered in the critical edition. Some manuscripts may be incomplete. Some may not be, giving the right text. ज्याला आपण भ्रष्ट आहे असं म्हणू शकतो, की जी व्यवस्थित लिहिलीच गेलेली नाहीये किंवा अर्धवटच लिहिलेलं आहे एखादं हस्तलिखित, तर ते तुम्हाला त्याच्यातनं बाद सुद्धा करायला लागू शकतं. So as I mentioned in critical edition of Mahabharata and Ramayana, they have given detailed explanation how they, abandoned particular editions, how they accepted, etc. Then you have to describe what is the name of that, particular manuscript, whether it is pertaining to one section or it is the entire. For example, if it is a manuscript of Ramayana, whether it is the manuscript of only Balakanda, the Uttarakanda, or all the kandas are there, like that. The condition, whether it is very fragile, very delicate, what is the age, नेमकं ते कधीच आहे, त्याचा काळ नेमका काय असेल, कधी ते लिहिलं गेलं असेल. जे ग्रंथाचा काळ नव्हे, पण लिहिलं जाण्याचा काळ, लेखनाचा जो काळ आहे, तो साधारण काय असू शकेल. Who is the scribe, whether he is mentioning his or her whatever name, author, लेखक त्याचा कोण आहे, ह्या सगळ्या गोष्टींची दखल घ्यावी लागते. Then the collation comes, which is very much helpful for understanding this recensional aspect. Here all the manuscript need to be compared. Okay, all the manuscript, because suppose there is first sutra, atha yoganuशासनम. Okay, if it is the beginning of the Yoga Sutra, is it really the beginning of the manuscript in all the copies, or they are starting with some benedictory stanza like Om or Shri Ganeshaya Namaha, or some different sutra is there, or atha yoganuशासनम, are they dropping any word or they are adding any word? So one has to compare, researcher has to compare syllable by syllable. Okay, that is considered as a collation. There are collation sheets also now that is done with the help of softwares also, but syllable by syllable one has to compare and find out the variants. Okay, what are the variants? So those variants need to be recorded. Then those variants, when they are recorded, understood, identified, then you can restore the original text. Which variant to be accepted? That is, again the task of the researcher. And then in emendation, there is a restoration of the text. One can amend wherever necessary on the basis of logical evidences, maybe internal or external evidences. Sometimes this emendation also forms the task of higher criticism, because it may not be possible just by comparing the manuscripts. One need to understand more than that, maybe cultural specification, cultural context, or comparison with other texts. And on the basis of that, one may amend particular text. So after this, after all these stages, there can be the critical edition, preparation of critical edition one can see. For example, I have taken here the example of critical edition of Valmiki Ramayana. So before the critical edition of Valmiki Ramayana, we could see that there were different manuscripts which were popular, different editions of Ramayana which were popular. So it may be Kumbhakonam edition, Bengal edition, like that. So there was no uniformity in the text. There must be some variance. So there was definitely a need of the critical edition of the Ramayana. So this project was undertaken by G.H. Bhatt. And of course, it was not a work of an individual. It was a teamwork. So there we can see even all the team members mentioned in the critical edition of the Ramayana. So he and his team, G.H. Bhatt, formed a team of the renowned scholar under the project undertaken by MS University of Baroda, which was brought out in 1960 to 1975. So Bhatt and his team collected more than 2,000 manuscripts of Ramayana, ranging between 10th century to 18th century almost. So we can see that no manuscript was available, which was before 10th century. जी हस्तलिखित होती सगळी रामायणाची साधारणपणे 10व्या शतकानंतरचीच आपल्याला मिळालेली दिसतात, जेव्हा ही क्रिटिकल एडिशन तयार केली गेलेली आहे. आणि साधारणपणे 2000 हस्तलिखित जी आहेत ती गोळा केलेली आहेत अक्रॉस wherever they are available. So one has to find out such manuscripts from different manuscript libraries. One cannot say that, oh, I couldn't receive this manuscript, I couldn't go to that particular library. It's not done. One has to collect all manuscripts which are available. उपलब्ध सगळ्या ज्या हस्तलिखितांच्या प्रती आहेत त्या संकलित करायला पाहिजे. उदाहरणार्थ समजा MS युनिव्हर्सिटी बरोडा इथे जर संकलन असेल हस्तलिखितांचं, तर तिथून एशियाटिक सोसायटीमध्ये संकलन असू शकेल, भारतीय विद्याभवन मध्ये संकलन असू शकेल, किंवा तंजावरला संकलित केलेले असू शकेल, नॅशनल मॅन्युस्क्रिप्ट मिशन मध्ये असू शकतील. त्याचे कॅटलॉग सुद्धा असतात आणि मग त्याच्यामधनं ती माहिती मिळवून ही हस्तलिखित जी आहे ती संकलित करायला लागतात. तर तशी हस्तलिखित जी आहे ती रामायणाच्या प्रतीसाठी सुद्धा गोळा केली गेली होती. Then UP Shah took the charge after the death of G.H. Bhatt because it was a huge project. Of course, it was going on for many years. And then all the manuscripts, after they are collected, were properly studied, grouped, and the authenticity was checked and were selected for the critical edition. So we can see that they were divided like this, northern and southern. So after studying, what they realized is generally northern recension has similar, kind of part, and southern recension has different part. So accordingly, the scripts were also divided. That is, manuscripts having the Nepali script, Maithili script, Bengali, Devanagari, etc., or Sharada, then Telugu, Grantha, Malayalam. Accordingly, they were divided. Now see, though Ramayana story revolve, mostly means the spaces or the places are from the north. It traveled towards the south after several centuries. It was traveling, and therefore we can see that there were definitely some variants taking place of in the text. We can find certain variants. For example, now if we take the example of Balakanda, so critical edition of Balakanda is based on 37 manuscripts. Now they were having 86 manuscripts, but 37 manuscripts were selected after scrutiny. Okay. Then out of that, northern recensions were having 21 manuscripts and southern recensions were having 16 manuscripts. Now again, there was comparison between northern recension and southern recension. If there is a variant in particular patha in text, then which patha should be selected? Okay. Now we can see the details, how they had grouped. See, northwestern group, then northeastern group. Then they have divided according to the script, Sharada version, Nepali version, Maithili version, Bengali version. Then there is a particular coding also, like S1, N1, N2. As per the script, they have done this. Okay. Then Devanagari version is also there. Then southern recensions also, we can find Telugu version, then Malayalam version we can find. So when they were having the comparative study of northern recension and southern recension, what they felt is southern recension has maintained the original part, original text, whereas northern recension has polished Sanskrit of Adikavya, because Sanskrit was profusely studied in northern recension, and many places from the north were considered as educational hubs at that time. So they have changed according to situations. They have, elaborated particular characters or polished particular characters. For example, now Kaikeyi, characterization of Kaikeyi slightly can be, different. Or, the character of Valmiki can be more, eulogized. Whereas South's tradition of Southern was, they were having the devotion towards regional language. Okay. Another thing is, therefore, they preserved epic as it is. Okay. Profusely they preserve the epic as it is. तसंच्या तसं लिहिण्याकडे कल होता दाक्षिणात्य भागामध्ये. तर उत्तरेकडील भागामध्ये मात्र मुळातच संस्कृतमध्ये कुशलता असल्यामुळे आणि तो अभ्यासाचाच विषय असल्यामुळे जिथे शक्य होईल किंवा जिथे गरज भासेल तिथे बदल सुद्धा केलेले आपल्याला दिसतात. त्यामुळे जिथे जिथे असे व्हेरिएशन्स आले तिथे बऱ्याचदा दाक्षिणात्य पाठ हा क्रिटिकल एडिशनच्या वेळेला गृहीत धरलेला आहे, बिकॉज देर वॉज नो टॅम्परिंग with the original text. Okay. But when we see the critical edition, you should open the critical edition and just check how it is given. Though they have preserved one patha, in the footnotes, we find all the pathas which are available in other manuscripts or other recensions. So we get actually the entire Ramayana with all its variants. Suppose, the first shloka of the Valmiki Ramayana is Tapasvadhyaya Niratam, etc. All the manuscript, though it is the first verse, they start with some benedictory, expression like Shri Ganeshaya Namaha, or they are paying their salutations to Valmiki, or to Vishnu, like that. So those beginnings are also recorded in the footnotes. Those variants which are available, those are also recorded in the footnotes. We get all the variants, but they have accepted one patha after scrutinizing, the text, analyzing the text properly. So it is a job of the critical editor to scrutinize all recensions and accept the particular part. Now, for example, I have given this verse. Tapasvadhyaya niratam, tapasvi vagvidamvaram, naradam paripapracha valmiki munipumgavam. Now, here we can see that tapasvadhyaya niratam, tapasvi vagvidamvaram, naradam. These are all, epithets of Narada, that who is engaged in penance and swadhyaya, self-study, who is tapasvi, who is, great performer of great tapas, Vagvidam Varam, who is superior among those who are skilled in the speech. Now, these are all epithets applied to the Narada. Naradam Paripapracha. We can understand that by the Vibhakti Pratyaya which is applied. So, Valmikihi Muni Pungavam. Valmiki is also having one adjective, that is Muni Pungava, that is best among the Munis. So Valmiki asked Narada. Now here we can see that there are 3 adjectives for Narada and 1 adjective for Valmiki in southern recension. But as we can see other recensions, we get, all these adjectives, tapasvadhyaya nirata, tapasvi, vagvidam, varam, applied to Valmiki and not Narada. So if we change the vibhakti pratyaya of tapasvadhyaya niratam from accusative to nominative, they will get applied to Valmiki. Okay, because Valmiki, they want to eulogize Valmiki rather than Narada. Of course, Narada has is a, what we can say, divine figure, but still they want to eulogize, Valmiki. So what happens is such regional variations are bound to take place in, these manuscripts. So when, preparing the edition, critical edition, one has to take care of analyzing all those regional variations and then come to the conclusion and accept the right kind of patha. So this is dependent on, so what we can say is this critical edition of the Valmiki Ramayana, which is prepared, it's a part of lower criticism. As I explained in the beginning, it is a part of the lower criticism. Now there is a lot of scope to do studies and researches as a part of higher criticism. So text is reconstructed on the basis of available manuscripts. So times you must have heard that, Lakshmana Rekha Prasanga is not. So critician omit, they find in manuscripts, they will keep it. But in footnote, they will, add that, which
Madam, breaking.
Are adding those, which manuscripts are not having such, well,
No, we can't hear you.
Madam, voice is breaking.
so what I was saying is there is lot of scope for higher criticism, because
मॅडम आवाज येत नाहीये तुमचा.
बालकांड आणि उत्तरकांड
शकुंतला मैम
कन्सिडर
आपकी
टू बी
आवाज नहीं आ रही है।
आहे सापडलेली आहेत. मी मगाशी पण म्हटलं. हॅलो,
हेलो
ऑडिबल?
शकुंतला मैम आपकी आवाज नहीं आ रही है।
Am I audible now?
Yes, madam.
यस
Yes.
मैम यस।
Okay.
आवाज आ रहा है मैम।
So what I was saying was, Balakanda and Uttarakanda. Hello, can you hear?
यस इट्स फाइन नाउ।
Please let me know if my voice is audible.
Now it is audible, madam.
Audible.
Okay. So what I was saying is, we can see that Balakanda and Uttarakanda are considered to be interpolated. त्याला प्रक्षिप्त असं मानलं जातं. पण क्रिटिकल एडिशन मध्ये निश्चितपणे त्यांचा समावेश आहे. याचं कारण हस्तलिखितांच्या उपलब्ध प्रतींमध्ये त्यांचा समावेश आहेच. पण आपण बघितलं 10व्या शतकानंतरच्या आपल्याला मॅन्युस्क्रिप्ट ज्या आहेत त्या उपलब्ध असताना दिसून आलेल्या आहेत. आणि त्याच्या अगोदरच्या मॅन्युस्क्रिप्ट ह्या उपलब्धच झालेल्या नाहीयेत असं दिसतंय. त्यामुळे बालकांड आणि उत्तरकांड हे क्रिटिकल एडिशनचा भाग आहेत. पण खरंच त्या नंतरचा भाग आहेत का, म्हणजे मागाहून जोडण्यात आलेले आहेत का बालकांड आणि उत्तरकांड, ह्याच्यासाठी आपल्याला हायर क्रिटिसिझमचा आधार घ्यावा लागेल. ओके, सो when you have the edition available and then you are applying various theories and tools of the research, then it is possible. Like for example, सगराची जी कथा आहे, story of the king Sagara, appears twice in Valmiki Ramayana. So why it appears twice? So is it that one was added later or something? So or the genealogy, most of it is also added in Balakanda. We can add, particularly this Balakanda 2 to 6. So it suggests that this Balakanda was a later what we can compile the
The voice is again cracking, ma'am.
Charitra. What part? Take
मॅडम आवाज येत नाहीये तुमचा.
Ma'am, if you keep your video off, that will save.
Yes, ma'am. Your voice is breaking.
हॅलो मॅडम. हॅलो मॅडम.
Hello, ma'am.
आई थिंक मैम लेफ्ट हुई है, पार्टिसिपेंट में दिखाई नहीं दे रहे उनका नाम।
Yes. So internet is unstable. Yeah. Hope now I am audible to you.
No, I'm still voice is not clear.
ओके ओके ओके.
हॅलो मॅडम. हॅलो.